Nihilism. I've done a lot of videos about nihilism and existentialism. It's interesting to study as an extreme contrast to something like foundationalism. There's some mental balancing you have to do when you think about it. The absolute extreme opposition of foundationalism is concepts like nihilism. Nihilism's the soldier of relativism. Whenever an agent asserts something with the least bit of certainty, the nihilistic soldier is right there to tell him, you can't know anything, nothing exists. Whatever certainty or feeling of foundation that you have, that's worthless. Come over here to relativism, where there's nothing. We love nothing over here, no meaning. Whenever an agent asserts something with the least bit of certainty, the nihilist looks for the slightest exception to the rule and then insists nothing can be known because of that exception. This sort of indirectly attempts to push the agent back to relativism, or at least a condition of not really knowing. The worst part is, exceptions don't necessarily discount general rules except in the mind of the absolutist. Absolutists are the soldiers of nihilism, who are the soldiers of relativism. It's crazy, but your common perfectionist is in many cases a relativist, which is counterintuitive on the face of it. If a foundational principle is 95% effective, we should say it's 95% effective. Not if it's not 100%, then it's zero. If it's not everything, then it's nothing. Apply that simple binary thinking to everything and you end up obliterated into relativism. Nihilism is a philosophical viewpoint that suggests the absence of inherent meaning, purpose, or value in life. It's often associated with extreme skepticism and pessimism about human existence and knowledge. Absence of absolute truths. Nihilism challenges the notion of absolute truths, suggesting that beliefs and values are subjective and constructed. Freedom and responsibility. While nihilism can be seen as bleak, some interpret it as a call to personal freedom and responsibility in creating one's own meaning and values. What matters is what you want, or what you don't want, or what you don't want other people to have. Rejection of inherent meaning. Nihilists believe that existence itself doesn't hold any inherent value. This meaninglessness can apply to life in general, or extend to morality, knowledge, or religion. Questioning established systems. Nihilism often challenges traditional values and belief systems. It can involve skepticism towards religion, morality, or social norms. Nihilism is a philosophy that questions the inherent meaning and value of life. It's a broad term that encompasses various schools of thought, but at its core, it suggests that life doesn't have a preordained purpose or objective truth. Nihilistic concepts extend to existentialism, morality, epistemology, metaphysics, and cosmology, as well as religions like Buddhism. Existential nihilism. Existential nihilism is a philosophical perspective that asserts that life is inherently devoid of meaning, purpose, or intrinsic value. Rooted in the broader framework of nihilism, existential nihilism digs into the human condition, confronting the stark reality that in the grand scheme of the universe, individual lives and actions are ultimately insignificant. Proponents of existentialism assert that any meaning or purpose we ascribe to our lives is a construct of human consciousness rather than an objective truth. This viewpoint often leads to a profound sense of disillusionment and despair. It challenges deeply held beliefs and societal norms that provide comfort and direction. It's really the unnecessary part of nihilism. While meaning does require consciousness, the foundation of that meaning is objective reality. There's no reason to destroy the reality we perceive through common sense experience simply because we have to perceive it in order to know it. However, existential nihilism also presents an opportunity for individuals to create their own meaning and purpose, liberated from externally imposed values and expectations. Yeah, liberated, like leave me alone and then later I'll tell you not to do anything the way I don't do anything. By embracing the void, individuals can find a form of existential freedom, taking responsibility for their own lives and crafting personal significance in a world that offers none. Moral nihilism. Moral nihilism is a philosophical viewpoint that contends that there are no inherent moral truths or objective ethical standards. According to moral nihilists, concepts of right and wrong, good and evil, are human inventions without any grounding in any external moral reality. This perspective holds that moral values are subjective and culturally constructed, varying from one society to another and lacking any universal applicability. And everybody in the world knows that that's complete BS because there's plenty of objective reality and consequence to evaluate that's universal. Again, to say morality has no foundation in objective reality because different cultures perceive different realities is to say that common sense reality is somehow less important, less deterministic, and less effective in its contingency than a single person's fleeting ideas. It's complete nonsense. Objective reality destroys relativism by just being. As a result, moral nihilism challenges the foundation of conventional ethical systems, which often rely on the assumption of objective moral truths. Proponents of moral nihilism argue that recognizing the non-existence of objective morals frees individuals from constraints of dogmatic ethical codes, allowing a more flexible and pragmatic approach to moral decision-making. This view is frequently criticized for potentially leading to moral relativism or even moral apathy, where individuals may feel justified in acting solely based on personal preference or societal convenience without regard for the broader ethical considerations, also known as universality. Critics worry that without a common moral framework, social cohesion and cooperative behavior could be undermined. Despite these concerns, moral nihilism prompts important discussions about the nature of morality, the sources of our ethical beliefs, and the ways in which we navigate moral dilemmas in a pluralistic world. Epistemological Nihilism. Epistemological nihilism is a philosophical stance asserting that knowledge is inherently unattainable or that meaningful knowledge about reality is fundamentally impossible. This perspective challenges the very foundations of epistemology, the study of knowledge, by questioning the validity and reliability of our cognitive faculties and sensory experiences. Epistemological nihilists argue that our perceptions, concepts, and methods of inquiry are inherently flawed or limited, rendering any claims to certain knowledge dubious at best. This radical skepticism often extends to all areas of human understanding, including science, logic, and ethics, suggesting that our attempts to grasp the true nature of reality are futile. By asserting that objective knowledge is impossible, epistemological nihilism destabilizes the confidence in human rationality and the progress of intellectual endeavors. It raises profound questions about the nature of truth, the limitations of human cognition, and the criteria we use to justify our beliefs. To my mind, it really doesn't rise to the occasion to make us question foundational beliefs about objectivity. Critics of epistemological nihilism argue that while absolute certainty may be unattainable, degrees of knowledge and reasonable beliefs are still possible and valuable for practical purposes. Epistemological nihilism being impractical, they contend that dismissing all knowledge claims as meaningless undermines the possibility of communication, learning, and cooperative human activity. Nonetheless, epistemological nihilism serves as a crucial reminder of the provisional and tentative nature of our understanding, encouraging humility and openness to new perspectives in the quest for knowledge. Metaphysical Nihilism. Metaphysical nihilism is a philosophical doctrine that posits the possibility of the non-existence of the physical world or any objects within it. This perspective challenges the fundamental assumptions about reality, existence, and the nature of being. One of the key components of metaphysical nihilism is the idea of ontological emptiness, which suggests that a possible world could exist devoid of any objects or entities. This concept is often contrasted with more traditional metaphysical views that take the existence of objects and entities as a given. Metaphysical nihilism raises profound questions about the nature of reality. What does it mean for something to exist? Can existence itself be contingent? If a world without objects is possible, what are the implications for our understanding of the actual world? Critics of metaphysical nihilism argue that the concept is counterintuitive and that a world devoid of objects is inconceivable. They may assert that the very framework of possible worlds relies on the existence of entities to define and distinguish different worlds. Moreover, some critics maintain that metaphysical nihilism leads to a form of skepticism that is difficult to reconcile with our everyday experiences and intuitions about reality. Cosmological Nihilism. Cosmological nihilism is a philosophical and existential viewpoint that emphasizes the insignificance and meaninglessness of human life and activities in the vast context of the cosmos. One of the central tenets of cosmological nihilism is the idea that the universe is indifferent to human existence. The cosmos operates according to physical laws and processes that are indifferent to human desires, values, and struggles. This perspective is reinforced by the scientific understanding of the universe, which shows that humanity occupies a minuscule part of an unimaginably vast and ancient universe. The Earth is just one planet among billions in our galaxy, which itself is just one of billions of galaxies in the observable universe. This perspective can evoke feelings of existential dread or despair as it confronts individuals with the apparent futility of human endeavors. If the universe is so vast and indifferent, what significance can our lives, goals, and achievements possibly hold? Nihilism is pretty hard to defend outside of a question everything mentality. It sort of attempts to preclude common sense. It can be useful in the way that Occam's razor is useful in appealing to the simplest explanation for events. It's pretty easy to see how a nihilistic mentality can drive an agent into despair and depression. We sort of need to feel special as humans. It's pretty hard to feel special when objective reality tells you how small you are and is constantly reminding you of the short amount of time you exist, the likely minuscule amount your contribution to reality will be. Coming out of adolescence, we have to reevaluate all the principles and values taught to us by our parents, schools, caregivers, and peers to make sure we are actually invested in who we are moving forward. If we don't go through this nihilistic phase, I might be inclined to ask the question, do we really ever become ourselves? Or are we just a product of the random place we were born, a product of the values of the random identities we were influenced by, a product of conditioning of our socioeconomic status? If you want there to be a real I when you talk about yourself, then you have to take time to question everything about yourself, really go over all your values, your principles, what society wants from you. If you can't get behind it, then you need to weed it out of your life. But sometimes you find out that actually society was correct, society had it right. And in that sense, you'll have an explanation when someone asks you why you believe this thing. If you like this kind of philosophical subject matter, help us out by liking the video and subscribing to the